And the caption to this video says, I'm sorry, in the caption, I don't have anyone at home. They arrested my mom, my sister, and a 2-month-old baby. One of the family members that was here apparently has said.
Oh, they're taking her baby or something.
And per a Newsweek article, that baby is actually one. So.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, this is Ashley with Status Coup. Early yesterday morning, ICE agents were filmed dragging away a mother in a Worcester, Massachusetts neighborhood while she clung to her baby, and her teenage daughter can be heard screaming in the background. And by the way, ICE is bankrupting itself to do this. But before we get to that, let's just get right to the video and watch it. I don't have any clever lines for you all about this. This is just absolutely horrific. This is a mother clinging to her baby before being dragged away by ICE while the neighborhood tries to interfere and protect this family. And you don't need to be a parent to have some kind of empathy here. I think as human beings, we should all be able to feel something when watching this. And I know that it's a little bit hard to see in the video exactly what's happening. So I'm going to scroll down, and there is another video here that shows a little bit more of a close-up of the ICE agents near brutalizing this woman. There's not really any sound for this part of the video. So if you're not hearing anything, that's just the video.
Oh, they're taking her baby or something.
And the caption to this video says, I'm sorry, in the caption, I don't have anyone at home. They arrested my mom, my sister, and a 2-month-old baby. One of the family members that was here apparently has said. And per a Newsweek article, that baby is actually one. So the Newsweek article has a little bit more information. A chaotic new video shows President Donald Trump's immigration enforcers and local law enforcement clashing with residents in a Worcester neighborhood, including a mother holding her baby. The tense scenes unfolded on Thursday morning as video appears to show agents pushing residents, protesting as federal immigration agents attempt to detain a woman. And if you scroll down a little bit, they have more information specifically on what happened here. 2 individuals, one of whom is running for the Worcester School Committee, were arrested after a crowd gathered around federal immigration agents attempting to detain a woman in Worcester, according to officials and advocacy groups. Advocates say that an immigrant family in Worcester was approached by Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agents twice this week. The father was taken into custody on Wednesday, and agents returned Thursday, arresting the mother without presenting a warrant, according to the Loose Immigrant Justice Network of Massachusetts. Neighbors reported seeing federal agents interacting with a mother and her 2 children, a teenage girl and a 1-year-old near Eureka Street around 7 a.m. on Thursday, according to the Loose Immigrant Justice Network. Worcester City Councilor was among the residents who shielded the mother and her children by forming a human circle around them to prevent federal agents from accessing them. So whether this baby is 1 or 2 months old, both of their parents have now been separated from them, as has their older sister. So their entire family has now been ripped apart. And you can see in the video 2 women sitting on the sidewalk talking to police, holding a baby, which looks to be probably more like a 2-month-old baby than a 1-year-old. But either way, this baby has just had their entire family ripped away from them. And there is video of the city councilor after the woman and her teenage daughter were detained.
You arrested her and threw her on the ground.
When I was over there, the officer arrested her because she was obstructing me. We told her to get out
All
of the way.
you needed to do is just have one of us hold her and contain her. You didn't have to take her. This is what we talk about. This is what we talk about. That's a use of force. It's unnecessary. It is unnecessary. No, it's not emotional. It's real because those people. It's very real for them.
I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. Yep.
And you guys were acting disrespectfully. Okay? I'm trying to protect my constituents.
Okay.
And I was wag my finger as if I'm a piece of garbage. I have a right to be here. I'm the city councilor and I'm protecting my constituents.
You're
Okay?
doing all you can, right?
Okay, but there was no reason why that woman was bent on the floor. Would you agree with me?
When I turned around, she was on the ground.
She wasn't on the ground. She didn't get there by herself, sir.
Okay, wait.
She was put there. She was put.
This guy's so full of shit, acting as if she just happened to be on the ground. She just, as the city councilor said, just got there by herself and wasn't pushed down. You can see very clearly in the second video that the police pushed her down and were pushing her face into the pavement. And the city councilor here is so upset that she can barely speak. She's doing a better job trying to protect her constituents than most other lawmakers right now. Democrats, where are you? Because you are the ones who have, the national stage and can actually do something about this. People like the city councilor have a lot less power than you do, and she is doing more than you guys are. And the only other people I can see protecting this neighborhood in this video are residents. And again, their city councilor. Maybe they couldn't stop ICE this time, but they actually captured video of this event because they showed up to try to protect people in their community. So it is now recorded, and it's important for all of us to stand up for the people in our communities right now so that we can continue to fight against this. If we don't, we can expect to simply see more of this. And for the people watching this and cheering this on, I am sorry for whatever happened to you in your life to make you have such little empathy for the human beings around you. You can say whatever you want about upholding the law and detaining violent criminals. This is a mother with a tiny baby and a teenage daughter. If you think that an immigrant woman with a little baby and, again, a teenage daughter is committing crimes in this political climate, you are out of your mind. And per a 60 Minutes report from the beginning of April, so a month ago, in which years have gone by, 3/4 of the people sent to El Salvador to live in an overcrowded room with metal bunk beds, no blankets, a toilet, and a washing basin have no criminal record. So here is an Axios piece that summarizes the 60 Minutes report. So 3/4 of Venezuelan migrants flown from Texas to a notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador 3 weeks ago had no apparent criminal record, a CBS News 60 Minutes report on Sunday found out. Why it matters. The lack of evidence of a criminal record is consistent with many other immigrant removals under the Trump administration so far and poses serious questions over the deportations to El Salvador, as the judge ordered at least one man returned who still has not been returned. So if you scroll down a little bit by the numbers, the CBS News 60 Minutes report found that 75% of the 238 migrants sent to the Salvadoran mega prison known as the Center for Terrorism Confinement, CCOT, had no traces of a criminal record. At least 22% of the men on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad, but the vast majority are for non-violent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing, the 60 Minutes review found. Only a dozen are accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. No criminal record and no due process, just people being forcibly removed from their homes and neighborhoods and families being ripped apart. And if you're old enough to remember conservative Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia before he passed in 2016, he believed immigrants had a constitutional right to due process.
Do undocumented immigrants have the 5 freedoms?
Oh, I think so. I think anybody who's present in the United States has protections under the United States Constitution.
The 14th Amendment, it doesn't speak of citizens, as some constitutions grant rights to citizens, but our Constitution says persons. And the person is every person who is here, documented or undocumented.
And as Glenn Greenwald, who posted this, notes, Antonin Scalia was probably one of the most influential conservative Supreme Court justices over the last 5 decades. I thought conservatives and all of the people cheering on the disappearances of these people were concerned with the Constitution and upholding law and order. These people are not upholding law and order. They're illegally kidnapping and detaining people. And our president, as we saw a few days ago in his Meet the Press interview, apparently just knows nothing about due process and feels like, as the president of the United States, that's actually something for his lawyers to figure out. And Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, doesn't seem at all concerned about this.
Mr. Speaker, the president over this Meet the Press interview would not say if he would uphold the Constitution when it comes to due process for migrants. I'm wondering, is a constitutional expert if you're concerned? Exactly what he said. He said, I don't know. He was asked about
is the president expected to be an expert on all Supreme Court cases on this issue? I don't think so. I think he'll uphold the Constitution. He's demonstrated that over and over. Thanks.
So if you can't hear all of what Mike Johnson said, he said, is the president expected to be an expert on all Supreme Court cases on that issue? I don't think so. I think he'll uphold the Constitution. Well, we have already seen that he is not going to, so I don't know what would give you the impression that he is going to do that. And this, the mother in the video that we're talking about here, this is the second such case like this in Massachusetts. Remember back in March when Tufts University doctoral student Romesa Ozturk was violently snatched off the street by ICE agents wearing hoodies? That was also, again, in Massachusetts. So here is from CBS News. Tufts student recounts her detention by ICE, says she feared for her life in new court filing. A doctoral student from Tufts University is detailing how she was detained by ICE just steps from her home in Somerville, Massachusetts last month, and said she feared for her life when she was taken into custody. Romesa Ozturk, 30, who has since been moved to an Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention Center in Basile, Louisiana, provided an updated account of what happened to her as she walked along a street on March 25th in a document filed by her lawyers in federal court Thursday. Ozturk is among several people with ties to American universities whose visas were revoked or had been stopped from entering the U.S. after they were accused of attending demonstrations or publicly expressed support for Palestinians. She says, I felt very scared and concerned as the men surrounded me and grabbed my phone from me, Ozturk said in the statement. They told her they were police, and one quickly showed what might have been a gold badge. I felt very scared and concerned as the men surrounded me and grabbed my phone from me, Ozturk said in a statement. They told her they were police, and one quickly showed what might have been a gold badge, but I didn't think they were the police because I had never seen police approach and take someone away like this. Ozturk said she was afraid because her name, photograph, and work history were published earlier this year on the website Canary Mission, which describes itself as documenting people who promote hatred of the USA, Israel, and Jews on North American college campuses. She said the men didn't tell her why they were arresting her and shackled her. She said at one point after they had changed cars, she felt sure they were going to kill me. During a stop in Massachusetts, one of the men said to her, "We are not monsters, and we do what the government tells us." I can think of another group of people who were just doing what the government was telling them to do. And ICE is apparently spending more money than they actually have to be ruthlessly disappearing people like this. That's right. ICE is going to go broke. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut said in a hearing with Kristi Noem that ICE will be broke by July. I thought that we had a very high-profile government agency designed to deal with exactly this kind of government waste, fraud, and abuse. Let's listen to a little bit of what Chris Murphy had to say in this hearing.
I say this with seriousness and respect, but your department is out of control. You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are illegally refusing to spend funds that have been authorized by this Congress and appropriated by this committee. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow, as spelled out in your oath of office. You are routinely violating the rights of immigrants who may not be citizens, but whether you like it or not, they have constitutional and statutory rights when they reside in the United States. Your agency acts as if laws don't matter, as if the election gave you some mandate to violate the Constitution and the laws passed by this Congress. It did not give you that mandate. You act as if your disagreement with the law, or even the public's disagreement with the law, is relevant and gives you the ability to create your own law. It does not give you that ability. Let's start with your spending. You are on track to trigger the Anti-Deficiency Act. That means you are going to spend more money than you have been allocated by Congress. This is a rare occurrence, and it is wildly illegal. Your agency will be broke by July, over 2 months before the end of the fiscal year. You may not think that Congress has provided enough money to ICE, but the Constitution and the federal law does not allow you to spend more money than you have been given or to invent money. And this obsession with spending at the border, as the chairwoman mentioned, has left the country unprotected elsewhere. The security threats to the United States are higher, not lower, than when before Trump came to office. To fund the border, you have illegally gutted spending for cybersecurity. As we speak, Russian and Chinese hackers are having a field day attacking our nation. You've withdrawn funds for disaster prevention. Storms are going to kill more people in this country because of your illegal withholding of these funds. Your myopia about the border, fueled by President Trump's prejudice against people who speak a different language, has shattered many of this country's most important defenses.
Okay, watching her blinking like a deer in headlights like that is maddening. No feeling whatsoever. This was a good statement from Senator Chris Murphy, and I would recommend listening to it in its totality. We'll get to a little bit more of it, but where's Doge? ICE is going to be broke by July, and they are on track to trigger the Anti-Deficiency Act. So what is the expectation here? Just continue to steal funds that have been allocated elsewhere? Again, this is a pretty clear-cut case of government waste, fraud, and abuse, something that we have been told the government is extremely concerned about. While Doge is laying people off, laying off federal workers to apparently save money, ICE is overspending to disappear immigrants. And on the disappearances, Chris Murphy had more to say. I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit.
In an autocratic society, people who the regime does not like are people who are protesting the regime. They are just often picked up off the street, spirited away, sometimes to open-ended detention. Sometimes they're never seen again. What you are doing, both the individuals who have legal rights to stay here, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, or students who are just protesting Trump's policies, is immoral. And to follow the theme, it is illegal. You have no right to deport a student visa holder with no due process simply because they have spoken in a way that offends the president. You can't remove migrants who a court has given humanitarian protection from removal. Now, reports suggest that you are planning to remove immigrants with no due process and send them to prisons in Libya. Libya is in the middle of a civil war. It is subject to a level 4 travel advisory, meaning we tell American citizens never to travel to Libya. We don't have an embassy there because it is not safe for our diplomats. Sending migrants with pending asylum claims into a war zone just because it's cruel is so deeply disturbing.
These people have no conscience whatsoever. And again, I thought the intent here was to reinstate law and order in this country. Like he said, this mother and her family and Kilmar Abrego Garcia and Mahmoud Khalil have rights because they're in this country and our Constitution gives them those rights. Kristi Noem doesn't get to decide whether or not to enforce the law, neither does Trump. And for the people who genuinely think, I would never do this, I would never break the law, I would never enter another country illegally, which is not even what happened with many of these people. Again, as Chris Murphy just said, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was here legally under humanitarian protection. Mahmoud Khalil has a green card. For the people who genuinely believe that they would never do something like this, I don't think that you know yourselves. If your family, through little fault of your own, was desperate, facing food insecurity and violence, and had little access to medical care, all of the things that make up a life, and lacking any kind of opportunity to actually make it better for yourselves and your family, what would you do? What would you do to protect your children or to build a better, sustainable life for yourself? I think that with the looming shortages in our stores, I guess we are going to start finding out soon just how well some of these people actually know themselves. we are going to be covering more on this and the immigrants potentially being sent to Libya. So please do keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, follow, and subscribe to Status Coup News. And please do consider becoming a paid member of Status Coup so we can bring you more of this reporting on things that matter to working people. And you can become a paid member for as little as $5 a month at statuscoup.com/join. Thanks, and I will see you guys soon.